In the previous episode, we spent time building our city, stabilizing our economy, and building our manor. And it worked. We're rolling in the dough, all 62 of us. And while we were busy counting our doubloons, Hildebolt was busy snatching up all the land on the map. And if we don't strike back soon, he'll attempt to claim our land next. So we've got to be clear-eyed about our next quest. We have to build an absolutely massive army and generate tons of wealth so that we can claim Hildebolt's lands first. To build a massive army, we just need to have lots of money. We're already on our way there. But to generate influence, we'll need to do 3 things. First, we'll need to work on building up massive food surpluses so that we can tithe our food for influence. Second, we'll want to level up our church because doing so will provide 250 influence. And then finally, we're going to want to make sure that we're prepared for any raider attacks because if we beat them, we'll gain a ton of influence. And if we can successfully pull all of that off, we should be ready to attack Hildebolt before he attacks us. And if you're looking forward to preparing for battle, hit the like button. And if you're nervous that my shaky battle skills will imperil our entire city, hit the like button for that too, and let me know how you're feeling down in the comments below. Or leave an emoji representing my battle skills for the sake of engagement. But before we dive in, it's a new year, and like many of you, I'm determined to start it off on the right foot. Working out more, trying to sleep better, and most importantly, trying to eat healthier. And I've got some help with that last point thanks to today's video sponsor, Factor. I've been a paying customer of Factor for years, and for good reason. They make eating well not just easy, but enjoyable, perfect for someone with a busy schedule like mine. Their meals are absolutely delicious, and it's no surprise when you consider that Factor's meals are fresh, never frozen, chef-crafted, and dietitian approved. Best of all, they're ready to eat in just 2 minutes. It's convenience without compromise. And Factor offers a ton of variety. You can choose from a weekly menu of 35 different options, or let Factor handle it for you by selecting a plan that fits your needs, like Calorie Smart Keto, Protein Plus, or Vegan and Vegetarian. But that's not all. Factor also has more than 60 add-ons every week, from breakfast items to snacks and even drinks. I'm a big fan of their juices. Don't miss out on those if you give Factor a try. If you're looking for a convenient, delicious way to eat better this year, Factor has you covered. So head on over to factor75.com or click on the link below and use code 50cityplannerplays to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. That's code 50cityplannerplays at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Huge thank you to Factor for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. One of the main things I want to focus on today is food production. We currently have 5 months of food in storage, and while that's enough to get our village through the winter, it's not enough to start tithing our food. The tithing is going to be really important because we need to generate influence. We currently have 970 influence, and we need 2,000 to claim a region. Now, to tithe your food, you're tithing your surplus, and if we were to do that right now, we would burn through all of this and our people would go hungry. So I think that beefing up our food supply is going to be incredibly important. And it's really the easiest way to gain influence. The other ways include upgrading your church, that'll give you 250 influence, and then clearing bandit camps, of which there are none. Now, there will be raiders that come through, we will defeat them, that will also gain us influence, but food is the one thing that we can control. Now, one problem that we're having is that we are really struggling with logs right now. And I think this is all my fault. So we've got our logging camp down here, our saw pit up here, and our woodcutter's lodge right here. It's a lot of distance in between these, and I thought that it would work, and it just didn't. So what we're gonna do is consolidate all of these, and there are really 2 ways that we could do that. We could take this logging camp and move it up the hill, or we could take this stuff and move it down the hill. I'm inclined to move everything up the hill because I think it'll be a lot more defensible. I'm giving this a lot of thought. And if we have raiders come through here, they're going to burn this thing down first. And if we had placed our farms here like I initially intended to, they would burn those down as well. So I'm inclined to bring everything up the hill, including the farms that we're going to build today, because we should be able to defend it fairly easily. But I don't want to just get rid of this. We're going to build a brand new one up here and start to plant some trees because there really aren't all that many up here. So the first thing I want to do is build a new logging camp right here and right away build a forester's hut. Now, we don't have any employees to staff these, so I'm going to remove a couple of people from our deep mines. And to start out with, knowing that these aren't going to be built for a while, I'm going to take one of these people and assign them to our forager's hut. We've got a decent amount of wild berries back here, and I want to collect them all before winter, which will come before long. Now, in addition to that, we also have a hitching post down here, and I'm going to relocate that up the hill right away. And while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to build a couple more of these because we are going to be importing a whole bunch of oxen, and we will upgrade these as soon as we can. That'll give us a total of 4 of these for a total of 6 ox and 2 horse is kind of what I'm going to gear for. That should get things really flying around the map. In fact, I bet we could order one of these right away. We will absolutely do that. And I'll speed along the construction of these because they don't take any resources. Now, I mentioned that upgrading the church will give us 250 influence. The only thing that we're missing is roof tiles. So I think that we should start to look at our trading post and start to configure some things here as well. I want to make sure that we are importing roof tiles as we need them. So I'm going to import 10, which is exactly what we need for the church. And we'll have to buy this trade route because we can't import these using our normal traders. One thing that we can import with our normal traders, though, is stone. And I'm going to set this up so that we always have at least 20 stone in stock. Now, as we set up some other buffers, I want to take a look at our food supply. We're already producing meat, so I'm going to choose to import meat up to 25 so we always have some on hand. I'll do the exact same thing with berries. And then eventually, when we have eggs and vegetables, I'll do the exact same thing with those. Now, as we think about efficient production chains, I want to come back over here because there's a couple of things that we can do to improve this. First, I want to build a storehouse over here. This is basically going to have lumber-related products and maybe iron-related products as well. Nothing else. We'll have those come right here. It'll all be within close proximity of one another, and hopefully it'll get goods flying in between these different uses. I'm also going to get rid of our woodcutter here for the time being. We'll turn that off, and that's because we have 11 months of fuel in storage. Instead of having a woodcutter, I want to construct a new building. We're going to construct our charcoal kiln. The charcoal kiln converts 1 firewood into 2 charcoal, effectively doubling the amount of fuel that we have. So we would be really foolish not to place this thing. In fact, we probably won't need to turn on our woodcutter's lodge for quite some time. Now, I'm going to speed up production of our forester's hut because I want to plant right away, and I'm going to speed up production of our charcoal kiln so we don't burn through all of our firewood. And then finally, I want to take a look at our saw pit here and set some limits. This is something that I forgot to do in the previous episode, but basically I can say don't have a whole bunch of timber just sitting in here. We only want to have 10 in the reserve. And then I want to max out the number of planks that we have so that we're not making planks when it doesn't make sense. So right now we have 75 planks, which is wonderful, but I think I'm going to set this down to maybe 35. So we always have 35 on hand, or we're always working towards 35, but when we've already got that in storage, have that person do something else and use our wood for something else that we need it for, such as building new buildings. Now, I want to assign 2 workers to our forester's hut right away and define where they're planting trees. So right now there's an unlimited work area. I think I really only want to log this area. So I'll just set this to be right about here. And actually, I'm going to take it even narrower because I don't want to deforest where our berries are. And they will start to plant trees right there. Now, speaking of the berries, we are out there. So I'm going to turn off our forager's hut and I'm going to assign 2 workers to our charcoal kiln. I want 2 workers there so that we start to convert all that firewood once again into charcoal. And now that this has been built, I think I'm going to shift all of our lumber production up here. Even though we don't have all that many trees, we do have some back here that we can take for now. So I'm going to assign 1 worker here. We're going to set the area that they're working in. And now I can decommission this. We'll still grab logs in the pile down here, but we won't be working down here anymore. Now for our next construction project, I want to see if any of these buildings can be upgraded. The easiest way that I found to do that is to hold down tab. And then if you see any of these green homes, it means that these buildings can be upgraded. Now I want to reconsider some of what we've done right here. So I'm not going to necessarily upgrade all of these, but these right here, for certain, we want to upgrade. These are smaller plots, and I think it makes a ton of sense to upgrade these ones. Now remember, the benefit of upgrading these is they will start to generate regional wealth, which is going to be really important to us in just a moment. I want to shrink these up because I think that we want to have a lot more density down here. We're going to be building some larger burgage plots in just a second, but I want to remove these ones first. Now I'm doing that so that I can effectively double the density down here. And I'm going to just add another road right here. This will get people walking around this area a little bit faster. And I'm also going to remove these. Now that we've removed all of this housing, we have a shortage of 10 homes. And that might seem like a big problem, but it's not so long as we move fast. And I want to build a whole bunch of large burgage plots over here, along with some farms. So we're going to basically lay out 100% of our farmland. Now this is a great spot for farms because we've got a lot of fertile land. Now I'm going to build all the farms because it doesn't take any time or resources to do so. So I'm going to plan to place 8 fields here. Each of the fields is going to be 1 morgan each because 1 morgan is what 1 family can till. And the farmhouse has up to 8 families that can work it. So having 8 fields would be the complete max that we can have here if they are all 1 morgan each. I'll plan on having the farmhouse maybe right here or right here. And now we can build some large burgage plots around here. So I'm thinking that we are going to add a fair number of them back here. You can see I already added this road back here. And I'll add 5 back here that are absolutely massive that can also have accessory dwelling units so we can have up to 10 families back here. All of these will be vegetable farms. I'm also going to draw some right across the street. And now we'll resume things because we don't have enough lumber to do much of anything else. I am going to speed these along though. We need these to be constructed before it starts to snow. And while we're waiting on these, I'm also going to purchase another ox. Now these are almost all complete and it's winter and we've got some unhoused families. So I'm going to upgrade some of these burgage plots right away, but I'm going to add extra living space so we can add more homes for these families. And then we'll do the exact same thing for this burgage plot once these are all constructed. And now we've finally got enough homes for everyone and new families are starting to move in. Now we've got a couple of these that are still under construction, but we can level up all of these as well. And I'm going to do that so that we start to generate regional wealth from these as well. But unfortunately, I'll run out of planks before I can upgrade all of them, but this is a really good start. I think I got about 5 of them. Now, one thing I am noticing is that our approval is at 51%. That's partially because of homelessness, but really because of past taxation. So for the time being, I'm going to drop our taxes down to nothing so that we have happy citizens, people keep moving in, and things keep moving in a positive direction. I also want to pop back over here because our storehouse has now been constructed. So we are going to be adding an employee here, and I'm going to specify what can be stored here. So the only things I want stored here are going to be things such as planks, charcoal, firewood, iron ore, and iron slabs. So that basically covers all the production in this area outside of our tannery, and they can walk back and forth. They're doing just fine. And now that we modify what's stored at this storehouse, we should modify this one as well. And I want to make sure that we are not storing planks, charcoal, iron ore, firewood, iron slabs, or tools. Tools is another thing that we should probably be storing over here because I want to have that whole production chain in this area. And then finally, I want to remove one of the workers from here because we added one over here. And while we're in this area, there's one more thing I want to think about, and that is our trading post. I'm seeing this error pop up that the trading post is disconnected from major trading routes. And I've seen that happen from time to time when the trading post is not on the King's Road. So I'm going to add this thing right here. We'll eventually decommission this one and have a new one right here. It's springtime and all of these are completely built out now. So before we upgrade the rest of these, I want to make sure that we're growing vegetables at all of these. We've got plenty of money. This will cost us 15 gold each, but we can easily afford that. And now all of these have vegetable gardens, and I've upgraded all of them that need to be upgraded. The other thing we have to do in spring is come over to our forager's hut and turn it on so we start to pick berries once again. We are running low on food, so hopefully that'll stabilize things for us. Another positive development is that our trading post over here is now complete. So I will remove this one and I'm going to assign 2 workers here because I want to keep this thing fully stocked at all times. The other thing I want to do is take this small stable and relocate this to be right next to this if I can. And I know that we've just moved a whole bunch of things around, but I like that now we can have a denser downtown and kind of taper off our densities as we move away from it. This is also going to make it really efficient to add a tavern here and serve all of our density with beer, which will make them all really happy. And now it's time to generate some influence. So I'm going to upgrade this wooden church to be a small stone church. We have all the materials for it now, and this will immediately give us 250 influence. In addition to thinking about influence, I also want to build out our ironworking supply chain. So to that end, we are going to be building both a bloomery and a smithy. The bloomery is going to build iron slabs, which can be converted into a number of things. These can also be traded away, and at least in my experience, they don't lose value like iron ore does. We're also going to build the smithy, which builds tools. Tools are required for a number of our artisan upgrades, which we're going to be focusing on momentarily. But first, let's build these right here. And along with those, I'm going to build some new homes in our downtown area. And our church is now complete, and it just looks so much nicer with those clay roof tiles. Just a much nicer looking building. But the really nice thing about this is, again, that it gives us a bit more influence, and it's going to make all of the buildings around here happier. The thing I'm really excited about is the church level is now giving us 3 happiness or approval, and as a result, we can begin to tax our citizens again. And I absolutely want to do that. Our bloomery and our smithy are complete, and these are going to be incredibly valuable to us, but only if we assign workers. So I'm going to assign 1 to each of these. And now, once we upgrade some of these buildings over here to have artisans, we'll be able to produce things such as weapons. So I want to start to think about that. And you can see that we need 2 tools before we can have a blacksmith's workshop. We can already have a bowyer's workshop, so I might do that so we can produce some crossbows. And then right here, I'm thinking that we'll probably have a cobbler. The cobbler needs 1 tool, but the reason I care about this one so much is shoes are absolutely incredible in trades, and they're really easy to produce. Now, I just upgraded this to have the cobbler's workshop, but one of the issues that we're running into now is we are out of employees. And that's because every time we make an artisan, they are no longer available to work elsewhere. So I'm going to need to steal an employee from another unit. I think I might take one here from our charcoal kiln. I also want to double check up here. We still have 8 months of fuel because we built the kiln. So food is really our big limitation, and we're working on that right now. And now that these are set up, I need to set the specialization. For instance, at the bowyer's workshop right now, to build the crossbows, we'd have to have both planks and iron parts. We don't have iron parts being produced yet because we don't have I believe a blacksmith does that. So we'll go over just to our regular war bows, and we have planks, so that's no problem. I'll say that we want to have a maximum of 10 here, and we want to produce a maximum of maybe 50. And then over here at our cobbler, this takes leather. I'll say that we'll have 25 here. And for shoes, our max production will be 50. Now with that in mind, I want to trade shoes. And unfortunately, we'll have to purchase a trade route for this, but that also means that we'll trade them quickly, so maybe it's not all that bad. And we will export these, and we'll make sure that we have at least 10 on hand. Now this also makes me want to take a look at our iron ore, and this is what I was afraid of. We're actually seeing that the global market is oversupplied, and the cost of iron ore is about to plummet. So I'm going to say we will not trade our iron ore anymore. We will trade our iron slabs, and I'm going to open up a trade route for that. So this is worth 4. We'll export these instead. We'll have to do a little bit of refinement, but it's not that big of a deal. I'm going to keep 25 of these on hand before we start to trade them away. So we won't make money for a little while, but in short order, we will indeed do so again. Then there are 2 more things that I want to do before I let things stabilize for a bit. The first is going to be with our granary. We are really collecting meat and berries over here, and it's a long ways away from these 2. So again, in the spirit of smoothing out our supply chains, I'm going to build a granary over here, and this will only have meat and berries in here and hides. I wanted to build this over here, but I've got one big problem. We don't have any timber. And I think at this point, we've got to adjust what we're doing at our logging camp. So I'm going to add one more employee here and adjust the area that they're logging, because right now I think it's only back there. And we'll basically expand it out to be this entire area right here. And now I've got a couple of logs, so I'll place our granary right here in between our forager's hut and our hunting shack. And now that this is complete, we're going to set what is stored in here, and I'll turn off basically everything except for meats and berries. And really, that's about it. That's all that I want over here. I'm also going to assign one worker here and remove one from our old granary. And we'll also change what's accepted here and just get rid of those two things. Now, we don't have all that much food right now, so I really want to focus on making money. So to that end, I'm going to take our bloomery and increase the number of workers that we have here so that we're producing even more iron slabs. I also want to take a look at our smithy here, and this thing is really full. I think I'm going to limit the number of iron slabs that we're converting, maybe to 25, and the number of tools that we're producing to 50. There's no need to have 79 like we have right now. Now we are out of empty homes, so I'm going to build some new ones. But before we do that, I want to upgrade these ones because these are going to be some of our blacksmiths. And the moment that we upgrade these, we are going to lose them as general workers. So to make up for that, I'm going to add a few more homes over here. And I think I'm going to redo this road. And I only added 3 right here, but it's basically the best that I can do. We are really running low on lumber and planks with all that we've been building. Now, one really nice thing is we have a ton of happiness now. So I'm going to raise the taxes to 10%. And it looks like that's not going to impact our approval quite as much. So this is going to help us get some more in our treasury. And that's going to be really important because of what I want to do right now. I want to take a look at our retinue, and I want to start to equip and purchase more of them. So I can purchase up to 12 men-at-arms right now, and then I'm going to equip them with armor. This is 34 each, so I probably won't be able to get all of them. And I was able to get 5 of the 12. In addition to that, I also want to add on one upgrade here at our castle in short order. That's going to be our garrison tower. We're again short on planks. That's the main limiting factor here. But once we have this will give us the ability to upgrade our retinue to 24, which is going to be really important if we want to take on some of Hildebolt's land. But unfortunately, we're going to have to wait until we have more lumber to do all of that. Thankfully, we've got some extra workers now, and I'm going to assign one right here to our logging camp and another right here to our saw pit. And I'm going to have to assign one more to our woodcutter's lodge. I didn't really want to do this, but we are running out of fuel at this point, so we absolutely have to. Now, I've been watching to see when we'd have enough planks to construct our garrison tower, and we're now there. But before we do that, I'm going to boost our taxes up just a little bit because apparently people aren't bothered by what we're doing. So I'm going to boost this up to 15%, and then we'll open up our castle planner and commit to building the garrison tower. Now that our manor is complete, I want to start racing towards building our farms, but I'm noticing that we've got an issue over here, and that is we're running out of space over here in our storehouse. So I'm going to upgrade this first, and then I'm going to build a few more burgage lots that we have employees to work at our farm. And I figure that we'll make these farms 2, no reason not to, and then we will build our farmhouse right here. Now, unfortunately, while we were constructing these, we ended up with some enemies being spotted. A band of raiders is nearby. So we're going to need to slow things down and come up with a plan to take these guys out. And boy, oh boy, they are close. So I'm going to rally some troops. I'm going to see if we can form some new units. We've been building a whole bunch of war bows, so we should be able to build an archer militia. In addition to that, I'm going to see if we can purchase any mercenaries, and we've got at least one that we can afford, the local thugs, and we could also pay for the green caps. I think we might do that. And I did that because they are forming over here. This is how we get all of our influence. This is going to be really good for us, actually. And I'm going to take these couple of troops and go straight at them. As far as our local thugs, I'm going to place them right up here, and we'll hold these guys back for the time being. They're actually chasing in. I don't even know that they could take these guys out. Look at that. Look at that. Go after it. We're just going to push forward. They made a very bad strategic mistake. So we broke them. We'll go after this other group over here. And then there's this other one that we've got to worry about that's actually a larger group. We've got a ton of troops up here now. So we'll line up on the cliffside. And then we have our retinue heading over here as well. I'm not 100% sure where they are. Oh, I forgot to rally them. We'll move them right there. So between these, though, we should be able to handle it fairly simply. So we'll push forward straight into them. Probably not a great strategy to have all of the guys lined up like this. Move some to the side. Okay, and they have been broken as well. That is wonderful. So I will move all of these troops over here. And look at that. What are they doing? They decided to hang out down there. Bad strategy. Bad strategy. You will be destroyed. Now, I'm hoping that all these other troops meet us over here. Okay, got some right here. We're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. They're getting shot at. And then we've got our spear militia that's going to meet them. And we'll cut them off. They're running them straight back down the hill. And we've got a retinue here as well. Oh, yeah, they're toast. They are toast. All right, we broke them. That is wonderful. A retinue over here will break them as well. That is wonderful. And with that, we actually have enough influence to take one of Hildebolt's lands if we want to, which is absolutely spectacular. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's a lot that we need to accomplish in between now and then. Starting with cleaning up after this battle. If we don't pick up these bodies, our citizens are going to be very unhappy with us. So we'll add one worker over at our small stone church. Now, it's also March, which means that we've got berries growing in. We should start collecting those. And then I want to have a greater recalibration of some of the settings that we established earlier on in the city. Now, early on, we said we don't want to have all that many planks being produced, but at this point, I want to upgrade a whole bunch of buildings. So I'm going to really crank this, and we'll say that we want to have at least 50 in our storage at all times. Right now, we've got 27, and I'm going to exhaust those in short order. But first, let's go over to our trading post because I want to make some changes here as well. We are importing meat and berries, and that made a lot of sense just a little bit ago. But now that we have a whole bunch of vegetables here, it doesn't make all that much sense. So I'm going to stop this because this is an incredibly expensive policy. And then I also want to go and take a look at our iron ore. At one point, the global supply was saturated. That's why we stopped trading iron ore, but now it's normal. So we are going to export this once again. And I want to make sure that we have at least 100 in stock so that we can produce our iron slabs. And that's going to be really important because it's something I want to change right now. I want to create a whole bunch of blacksmiths. So blacksmiths are really important because they help us produce spears, sidearms, and iron parts. Spears and sidearms are pretty self-explanatory. If we want to make new units, we have to have them. The iron parts are actually really useful for crossbows. If you want to produce crossbows, you have to have iron parts. So I want to create at least 3 of these. And that's used up most of our planks, or all of them actually. But the bigger problem is that now we have no unassigned families. So for the time being, I will reduce the number of folks at our deep mine to 0. That'll give us 1 family that can construct things and transport things around the map. And I want to build some more homes. And the final thing I want to do is encourage people to move into our community by reducing taxes. Right now, that's the biggest thing that's creating unhappiness, at least in the past. We have a 15% tax rate, which made a ton of sense when we had a lot in regional wealth, but right now we only have 326. So I'm going to bump this down to 0, hopefully get a whole bunch of people moving into our community. And then once we have some regional wealth built up, we will increase that tax rate so that we can start to build up some money in our treasury. And now that all of these have finished construction and we've got a whole bunch of money in the bank, I'm going to upgrade these all right away. And that's because as soon as people move in, I want to make sure that we are producing food. So right here, we're going to have vegetable gardens. And for these 3, I will expand the living space so that we can harvest these quickly. And for these ones, I purposely made them a little bit smaller. We could add extra living space if we need to, but I'm not going to do that. The only thing I'm going to do is add chicken coops. The reason I don't want to add the extra living space to these ones is I don't think it needs it for the chicken coops. And secondly, I want to encourage people to move over to the homes with the vegetable gardens first. Now coming over to our 3 blacksmiths workshops, I'm gonna get these configured as well. And I'm gonna produce sidearms right here at the first one. We will limit the number of iron slabs to 10. We'll say that we wanna produce up to 50 sidearms. For the next one, we'll produce spears, and I'll set the exact same limits, 10, 10, and then 50. And then for the final one, we could produce the iron parts or we could produce pole arms. I think we're going to start out with the pole arms, and down the line we'll swap over to iron parts. And we'll have the exact same limits, 10, 10, 50. I've been thinking ahead a little bit, and I think that we want to unlock our next development point as soon as we can. And the reason for that is I want to make sure that we have the heavy plow policy unlocked with all the farms that we're about to have. This allows us to employ oxen at the farmhouse, and it significantly improves the speed of harvest. So with that in mind, to get to the next level, we have to have 3 level 3 burgage plots. Now, we could do this in a very expensive manner by continuing to import some of our clay roof tiles, because that's one thing that we need to upgrade burgage plots from level 2 to level 3. But I don't think that that's very wise. So while we're continuing to construct things, I think that we should think about exhausting the clay deposit that we have right here. And to do that, we need to build a clay pit. So I'm going to build that right on top of here. And then I'm also going to build a clay furnace. So we will absolutely get rid of this as soon as it's exhausted, but we might actually keep our clay furnace. And the reason for that is when we finally defeat Hildebolt, or at least take 1 or 2 of his lands, we should try to pursue one that has a lot of clay. And then the other thing that we'll need to go along with those policies will be more oxen. So I'm going to expand all of our hitching posts. These are all full. I want these to all be small stables. And then I'm going to order another ox right away. We've had a couple more families move in, but we don't have enough to fully staff our farm, so I'm going to hold off on assigning anyone there. And in the meantime, I want to exhaust this clay deposit. So I'm going to increase the priority here, and as soon as that's built, we will assign a ton of families here. With only 207 of the resource in this location, it should exhaust in just a couple of months. And in the meantime, I'm going to construct some of our supporting farm buildings. So this will include things like our windmill. And for this, I think aesthetically, I'd like it to be over here, but functionally, I'm going to place it at the end of this road. And that's because we have our granary right here. It'll be really efficient to place this here and then place our communal oven right here. And we'll use this as basically the artery for bread production. Now, in addition, we're going to be growing some barley. So we have to have a malt house. I'm going to place that right here. I'm going to place a tavern just beneath that. And then across the street, I'm going to upgrade this burgage plot to be a brewery. And now that our mining pit is done, let's assign a whole bunch of families over here. Now that all of our buildings have been constructed, I want to make sure that we exhaust this clay deposit as quickly as possible. Now, I forgot one employee here at a small church, so I will remove them, and then I'm going to load this up completely. Now, in addition to that, I see that our berry deposit's been completely depleted, so I'm going to remove one employee there. Maybe some more will grow back. I don't know. But I know that we're not working our deep mines, and we absolutely need to. So I'll get 2 employees there as well. And then there are 2 more things I want to do before we just let things run for a while. I want to make sure that we have 1 more ox ordered, and I want to start taxing again. We've got a whole bunch of regional wealth, so we should absolutely start moving some of that into our treasury. And we'll tax at 10% so that we don't completely deplete our happiness and people will continue to move into our community. And 1 more family moved in, so I will assign one of them to the clay furnace so that we can start to make those roof tiles. Now it's almost winter and we've got a couple of unassigned families, and we are going to be getting 1 more from our forager's hut. So I want to accomplish something during the winter, and that is going to be to upgrade some of our buildings. So we've got a couple of level 1 burgage plots over here. We're going to upgrade all of these so long as we have the planks to do so, which I think that we do. And then I want to see why some of these other burgage plots are not leveling up or not able to. And it looks like for this one right here, it's 2 things: fuel stall supply and water access. Now for water access, that's a new game mechanic, or at least a changed game mechanic. Our well now doesn't serve as many people. I believe it serves 15. And if we upgrade it, it'll serve 50. We currently have 39 burgage plots. So if I upgrade this, it should cover our entire city. So we'll get to that right away. And then the other thing that I want to do is figure out the fuel supply problem. That to me sounds like we're just not keeping up with our storehouse. So I'm going to add 1 more worker here. And I'm also seeing that we're having some pantry issues, and I don't want food to expire. So I'm going to upgrade our granary right here. And my hope is that adding this worker here will solve this issue right here, where we have one of our burgage plots that just can't get its food to the market. Checking out our clay deposit, it's about half exhausted. So my hope is that by the end of winter, this is completely exhausted and we have enough families to start working our fields over here. But one thing I am noticing is that we've only got 4 available homes. So I think that we should probably expand our living space because I don't want to run out of burgage plots. So I'll add 2 right here. And then I think I'm going to fill this area in as well. Boy, oh boy, that zoning tool is such a joy to use, particularly on parcels like this. But anyway, the main reason I wanted to do that is we are going to let this simulate for just a little while. And hopefully when we come back, we'll have all of this exhausted and we'll have enough employees to start working our fields. All of our construction projects have finished, so I want to make sure that we are working our backyards here wherever we can. These ones, there's nothing that we can do, but these ones over here, we absolutely can. And I think for these ones, I'm going to actually add some animal pens and some vegetable gardens. And now that we've added our animal pens here, we've got to purchase some animals. And there are 2 that we can add to this. We can either have pigs or we can have goats. Now, goats give meat and hides every 150 days. Pigs just give meat every 150 days, but you get 2 instead of 1. I think I care more about the hides, so I'm going to add goats to all of these. I also want to swing back over here by our mining pit, and it looks like we've completely exhausted our supply here. So I'm going to demolish our mining pit and take those workers. We've got 8 now. We are going to start to assign some over at our farm. Now, before we do that, I'm going to set this farm up. And in general, I want to make sure that we are rotating our crops well. I also want to have barley growing here. So it's going to be really important to me that we are assigning these appropriately. And it looks like these 4 fields right here are going to be absolutely terrible for barley. And these ones might be okay. I also want to plant a little bit of flax. And that, again, will grow just fine up here, but not down here. So we'll set up our wheat down here. And the general way that I do this is I go wheat, wheat, fallow. So fallow is restoring the field's fertility. And then for the next one, I'll go wheat, fallow, wheat. And then for the final one, I'll go fallow, wheat, wheat. And now I will always have at least 2 fields growing wheat. Now, unfortunately, I don't have 9 fields, so I won't be able to make this 100% perfect, but I'm not overly concerned. I'm also not concerned that I'm going to have more wheat than everything else. That's all part of the plan. So for this one up here, I will have flax, and I think I'll fallow and then grow flax twice. And then for these other 3, these are going to be barley because we need lots of beer. And now I'll finally assign all of these families. I'm going to load this thing up, and then I'm going to remove 1 worker from our deep mine, my favorite place to steal workers from. And then finally, I feel like we have to bump up our taxes. We have a decent amount in our treasury, but it's just a matter of time before the royal tax comes. So I'm going to bump this up to 15. That will result in a loss of happiness of 9 total, but we're at 62%, and it's going to get even better in short order. So I'm not overly concerned. And it looks like our time has finally come. We now have a royal tax. And that means that every single year we'll have to set aside $144 for the king. Thankfully, we've got a ton of money in our treasury right now, so we should be just fine. And in light of how much money we have in our treasury, I'm going to bump down our taxes because it's really starting to impact our approval. And I'll cut them all the way down to 5%. And then because we have so much money in our treasury, I want to upgrade our retinue. So the first thing that I'm going to do is buy 12 more. And now I want to outfit as many of them as I can with armor. And I was able to outfit all of them but 6 with armor, so we'll have to come back and do that when we have more money. Now I'm really motivated to make ale, so I want to take the barley fields and prioritize them. So I'm going to set the priority here to highest, and here as well. These are our 2 barley fields that are currently being worked. This will lead to them being harvested first and hopefully planted first as well. Now that we've completed our first harvest, we have a little bit of barley and we have a little bit of wheat, so we need to start working these. I'm going to add an employee here to our windmill and another employee here to our communal oven. Then I'll add one more to our malt house and one more here to our tavern. And then the other thing I want to check out is exactly what these buildings need to level up. And as I look, it seems like tavern supply is the main thing, but we're also missing a food stall. So we've got to make sure that we've got 3 different types of food at the market. Once we have our bread here, my guess is we should be in a good spot. Vegetable, bread, and then maybe our berries. So I believe we've got 2 vendors here. For our other granary, we've only got 1. So I'm going to add another worker right here. And I will shut down our forager hut for the year. Now we have plenty of workers. Just looking here at our brewery, now we do have plenty of food. It's just our tavern access. Once we have some beer showing up here, we should be in a great spot. And finally, we have some beer at our tavern. And if we look, we should start to see the ability to upgrade soon. And after waiting just a couple of minutes, I noticed I can upgrade this one, and even this one back here. So you better believe that we're going to do that. And I just love these level 3 buildings. Not only is the massing more appropriate for a downtown, they just look outstanding. But the more important thing is that we've leveled up our settlement and now we have another development point and can unlock heavy plow. This is going to be absolutely essential if we want to be able to plow these fields quickly. So I'm going to immediately add a plowing station to our farmhouse. And then we'll assign 2 oxen here. And that's just going to make a world of difference when we finally get to plow all of these fields. It is absolutely outstanding. And there are 2 more quick things I want to do. I can see that our citizens are much happier now than they were before, so I'm going to bump up the taxes, hopefully to 15%. I think I can get away with that. No, that's too high. We'll go 10 for now. I just want to make sure that we've got a lot of money here in our treasury, just in case we have to purchase any military units, and because our king's tax is getting kind of high. Next, I want to add joiners' workshops. And the main reason for that is we are not producing shields right now, and we are going to need those if we want to outfit a substantial sized army. So I'm going to add 2 of those because we want to make the small and the large shields. And now that we've turned them into artisans, we've run out of unassigned families once again. I'm going to take the family at the clay furnace and remove them along with a family. Oh, we had no one at the deep mine. Maybe one right there. That'll work for now. I'll build a couple more homes over here, or maybe actually I'll level these ones up. And then while those are building out, I want to make sure that we are producing a nice variety here. So we've got small shields here and large shields here. And now that these are built, we already have a new family moving in, which is outstanding. So we are in a really good place right now. The one thing I'm a little bit curious about is what our army looks like if we were to attempt to rally the whole thing. And you can see that we've actually got those completely filled up. We could probably add some more spearmen. And you can see that our big limitation here are large shields. We've also got a lot of both our polearm militia and our militia footmen. Our big limitation, though, again, is the shields. So once those are built up, we should be in a fairly good spot. So I think at this point, we've really transformed this settlement, and we're at a spot where we could declare war on Hildebolt right now if we wanted to. We could start to tithe our food. We currently have 10 months in supply, and we're growing a whole bunch of wheat. I feel like we're in a pretty good spot. And boy, oh boy, the upgrades to the city look absolutely outstanding. I just love those level 3 buildings so much. They're so much taller, so much nicer looking. Just makes the city feel so much more grand. The thing is, it seems like they're way out of scale compared to everything else because they look so much bigger and so much nicer. So we're definitely going to have to add more of them in the next one. But I think for today, we're going to leave it here. And I really hope that you've enjoyed this one. If you did, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. And I want to thank you so much for your time today. There's a million things that you could have been doing. You decided to hang out with me and play some Manor Lords. I really appreciate that. I've been really shocked by the response to the previous video, and if the response to this video is anything like that one, I'm going to be surprised by this one too. So thank you so much for your time, and I can't wait to see you in the next one when we take on Hildebolt. Take care. Bye-bye.